G'day guys, welcome to another review where the gloves are completely off. Now guys, if there's a lure or a product that you'd like reviewed that potentially you want to buy but you haven't yet pulled the trigger on, find us on Facebook, shoot us a personal message because we love chatting with like-minded individuals that really want to get down to the nitty-gritty of things. Anyway guys, I'm going to let this review roll on. I hope you enjoy. Evening and welcome to another episode of the Angler's Addiction, where we're going to start reviewing stuff, teach you the pros, the cons, and of course everything in between. Now of course with all these reviews the gloves are off, as you know. As controversial as they're going to get, we're going to keep it going, and essentially we're going to take you through the ins and outs of everything. So we're going to talk about the lures, how to fish the lures, the price of the lures, the pros and the cons of the lures, a summary on the lure, and of course we're going to be chopping lures in half on bandsaws. Now the reason we're going to be chopping them in half on bandsaws is to simply show you the insides of them and what they're made of. But let's start with today's lure, the Cid Sprat. Now the Cid Sprat, in my eyes, would have to be probably one of the most versatile lures on the market today. If someone come to me and said what would be the one lure that you could take almost anywhere and catch almost any predatory fish on it, the Cid Sprat would certainly be one of the ones that I'd be leaning straight towards. The reason is because of just the sheer length, the profile, and the colours that these come in. And I mean, essentially, these are the reason that, like, these types of lures, I guess, are the reason that metals are becoming very old and lures like this are becoming gold. They simply just will outfish every time. The good thing with these being the ultimate all-round lure, they need to have a lot of, obviously, great traits to go with them. So with these, if you actually check out the colour, the colours that these come in, you'd be blown away, and the finish on these colours is absolutely spectacular. And I mean, when you have a look at something like that there, I don't know whether you can see it really well, but it's the ultimate bait fish copy. Now, keep in mind, these lures here are a casting lure. So unlike a traditional stick bait where I guess you got to work them really, you really got to put a bit of effort into them sometimes. These here can be used almost any way you like. So if you're just a standard cast and retrieve flat out, these are going to work. You can twitch them, you can drop them, you can lift them, you can do whatever you want. But I mean, that all comes at a cost. Now, the price on these is anywhere from about $15 upwards, and depending on where your look is to where you're going to find them at the cheapest price. So we've cut one in half because we want to see what the internals are like. So let's flip it around. So you'll see the internals on this lure here. You've got full length lead shot in it. So, which is why these cast like an absolute bullet. The resin on them is sort of standard thickness, but because you've got that full length lead shot, these lures can take an absolute bloody hammering. You can see you've got the figure eights from front and back. Okay, once again, we switch it around. You've got the really nice flash inside these ones, beautiful realistic eyes. On this one here, which is one of my favourite colours, which is like the white bait copy, we've got white across the back, chrome sides with the black dots. These are absolutely beautiful. Now, the thing you will notice also is that you've got a treble on the back with a fairly nice split ring. How do you fish these? It's simple. Cast them and retrieve them however you want. If you want to twitch them, these are going to twitch. If you want to just crank them, they're going to crank. If you want to get them skipping across the surface, they're going to skip across the surface. And I'll tell you now, these are going to catch. But don't just take my word for it. Let me quickly flip you across to some fishing that we have done with these. And let me show you how well these Cid Sprats really do work. So as you can see, these sprats, they catch. They catch so many fish, it's ridiculous. But of course, with everything, they have their pros and cons. The pros of this lure, in my eyes, is the colours. I mean, the colours are absolutely outstanding. The finish on them is fantastic. Another thing is, of course, the way they cast, how they cast like a bullet is absolutely outstanding. The durability of them is really, really good. But keep in mind on the subject of durability, they're not like your CID Shiver Stick Brothers, where a lot of it is like an impregnated colour into the resin. Some of these are external paint, so you can actually see on this one where it's been belted around the tail a bit. There's paint missing up and down the sides and so forth and whatnot. And best of all, compared to other stick baits on the market, which could be upwards of $30, these are really, really affordable. The cons though, they're not wide through. Now, most people will look at a lure of this size and go, well, why would they need to be? Well, simply because these catch absolutely anything. I mean, we've targeted everything from herring to coral trout, spangled emperor to tuna, and of course, tailor and salmon. Now, there has been a few photos getting around of the figure eights on these completely straightening. Keep in mind, I don't believe these lures were ever built to be that monster fish targeter. However, they're that good and they've been designed that well, and the profile is perfect, that they do actually, do a great job on big fish. So that's kind of where that is. I do think that these trebles could be changed out with a nice little single. Split rings are fine, leave the split rings if you wish. And I guess the other thing that I think lets this lure down is there's only really the one weight in it. Now, surely this one weight does do it all. But in saying that, I'd love to see a heavier one. I'd love to see one that's maybe an extra 20 mil longer, and even something that's maybe a little bit shorter as well to really stretch them out. I guess you don't need it, but when you're casting PE3 and stuff, these don't cast overly well. They're just a bit light for that. But I have heard there are more weights coming in the future. Will it happen? I don't know. I don't work with CID, don't know much about the background of CID, and we're certainly not in any way, shape or form sponsored by CID. So we can only go off what we hear on the grapevine. I guess a summary on these is it something you'd put in your tackle box? If you were that guy that really wanted to just have that one lure that's going to do a good job at everything, this is the lure for you. They're very affordable, as I said, so you can afford to lose. You can afford to lose a few on the reef and whatnot. They're a must-have in my tackle box for when the larger predatory fish are a bit more shut down. This is more of a jelly bean style, presentation. However, when I do get up further north, I am chasing fish on heavier line classes, so these do cast a little bit less than what I'd like. Hence, me would love a bigger one. But if I was out on the boat chasing tuna and stuff as well, especially like your smaller southern blues and stuff, these are absolute rippers. But be careful on the drag setting, because you will definitely pull the figure eight style hook and toe point off. Now, guys, I hope once again this is a helpful review. It covers the ins and outs. As I said, we weren't mincing words with this. We said exactly how we feel about this. It is a great lure that does a great job. As I said, chopping them in half on the bandsaw hopefully gives you a bit of an idea of the internals. And if there's a lure that you'd like us to be having a look at, please let us know. Find us on Facebook, shoot us a PM. We love talking to people that are like-minded like us, and certainly reviewing a product that perhaps you've been thinking of buying but you haven't quite managed to pull the trigger just yet. All right, guys, on the next episode, we'll see you then. Catch you later.